Now, obviously, since it is, in my opinion, wrongly claimed everywhere on the internet, basically, that Hitler was an INFJ, I do get occasionally people coming to me and asking, so in what way was Hitler an INFJ? Well, that's a question that I will not address today, since I don't believe that he was an INFJ. By the way, I have, I believe, recorded videos where I argue against Hitler being an INFJ, so you can refer back to them in the search bar. But there's a connected question, connected in the sense that I think that question is inspired by the whole lore around Hitler having been an INFJ or Osama bin Laden having been an INFJ. I don't know about Osama bin Laden. I haven't looked into his case in detail. But the question then is, that I get sometimes, that I think is interesting to address, is what does an INFJ psychopath look like? It sounds kind of dramatic and clickbaity and sensationalist, but you know, perhaps that was the reason why I was hesitant to discuss this, but really it doesn't have to be any of these things, for the simple reason that there are INFJ psychopaths. And since there are INFJ psychopaths in the world, and there's more than one, there's hundreds and thousands of them, statistically, you know, not that I have met them personally, maybe I have without having noticed, I don't know, but, you know, they are human beings, and as such, we can describe them. You know, I'm not saying that we love them or hate them or whatever. We can just try to describe them. Now, it's obviously a slightly different task, or difficult task, pardon me, to describe them when, as I have just confessed, I'm not sure I've ever met one. Right? Now, if the fewer psychopaths that I meet, the better. Okay, so I'm not going to complain. I know a bit about how psychopaths work. I know a bit about their defenses. I know a bit, you know, thanks to my course, among other things, the course that I'm taking in psychoanalysis, and this at least allows me to, you know, to conjecture a little bit, to make educated guesses. Okay, shall we say? So now the first thing that I would say, right, the first prediction that I would make in relation to these INFJ psychopaths is that they probably aren't the most dangerous psychopaths that exist in the world. And the reason why I don't think that they are the most dangerous psychopath, not that they cannot be at all dangerous, like any psychopath, they can be dangerous, but I don't think they're going to be the most dangerous. And the answer to, you know, the explanation of why covers essentially all I want to say about this mysterious and elusive category of the INFJ population, the INFJ psychopaths. Okay, so here is my reasoning. Okay, the psychopathy is essentially a, you know, what someone, a psychologist herself, identified sociopath, psychopath, same thing, describes as a form of low affect disorder. You know, people who have psychopathy do not struggle to feel their affects. There's either no intensity to them or very little intensity to them. Now, it turns out that this makes life very difficult to bear, because when you feel so little, you know, this is usually accompanied by a persistent sense of deep inner emptiness. Okay, and a psychopath is in a sense on a mission to feel as much as possible and to kind of feel alive, you know, and the trick that they find essentially is extreme sensory experiences, you know, and by talking about extreme sensory experiences, I of course also mean about things about like crossing the boundaries of what is legal, crossing the boundaries of what is safe, in the name of wanting to feel alive. You know, it's something that people don't get, is that cruelty, sadism, the joy at the, the pain of others. These traits that, we tend to associate with psychopaths because of popular culture, books, movies, and so forth. They actually are not directly traits of psychopathy. They are traits of perversion. They are traits of perversion, right? Someone who's perverse is someone who's a sadist, someone who is cruel, someone who enjoys manipulating people, and so on. Now, there is a comorbidity thing going on here where often psychopathy is accompanied by perversion, which is why a lot of psychopaths were perverse. It's in fact sometimes, often, very, very profoundly perverse in a very sick way, because obviously pedophilia is another form of perversion and so on. But this does not belong to psychopathy as such, which means that there are many psychopaths, people who have this low affect disorder, who are not like that at all, right? But they have this persistent low affect, and it tends to come with a constant impulsivity, because the impulsivity is almost like felt to be an existential need to continue being alive. This sense of compensating for the inner emptiness, the difficulty to feel anything, by a drive to act on impulse, to follow one's drives in the most sort of basic animalistic way, and finding it very difficult to bear being opposed in that respect. I have a teacher who said to us, the best way to be killed by a psychopath, is not to encounter a serial killer, is to have a psychopath driving a car, and you're at a pedestrian crossing. They're in a hurry. They see you crossing, they don't stop. They run you over because they're following their impulses. There's no sense of cruelty, or in this case, it's still murder, but you know what I mean. There's the perverse aspects is absent. Now, finally, we have to come to INFJs. I think INFJs would not make very dangerous psychopaths, because INFJs would make for very neurotic psychopaths. And the reason why I think they would make for very neurotic psychopaths is that, in a very obvious way, the main channel for the expression of this sensual and sensory impulse, this abandonment to the drives, in INFJ psychopathy is going to be done via, the main channel is going to be SE, but SE is inferior. When an INFJ inhabits SE inferior for a long time, neuroticism looms and is going to take over. So there's going to be a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, very much a great lack of well-being that is going to be experienced by the INFJ. And the more neurotic a person, the less they're going to be able to plan, the less efficient their life is going to be in many ways. So there you go, you have it. The INFJ, aka the neurotic psychopath. Okay, I'm going into SE, but I cannot keep it going. I cannot keep this thing going in the way perhaps an ESTP psychopath would. So perhaps we might even go so far as to say that if you're an ESTP psychopath, you can be comfortable with a life of impulsivity much more reliably and sustainably than an INFJ psychopath. Give me a like if you enjoyed this video, guys, and don't forget you can support me on Patreon. I could not do this without you. I need you more than ever. You know that if you follow me on Patreon, you get access to bonus video content every 2-3 weeks, a deep dive into a topic of your choice, as well as access to our Discord server, fourfold. Join us and let's have some fun. The link is below to my Patreon, and so are the links to my 2 books, The Ecstatic Soul, on the life of the INFJ, the internal life of the INFJ, INFJ mind, INFJ consciousness, to this day, the deepest investigation of that topic. Get the book now at the links below if you haven't yet, and you should also get the Infinite Soul, which is about INFJ life in the modern world. So getting out of the INFJ mind and looking how INFJs can find purpose, meaning, and value in the world today. First link below. Get both those books, guys, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.